Hello, I'm Matt Gilgenbach. A few months ago, I gave a presentation at Game Developer Conference about obsessive compulsive disorder and the development of retrograde. It received a pretty positive response. A lot of people had said that it was very heartfelt, very honest, and they found it really interesting and helpful and touching. So what I wanted to do is continue that sort of honesty and openness and do developer diaries as I'm developing a new project. And hopefully this will be the first of many more to come. So what I wanted to talk about for the first developer diary is sort of the roller coaster of emotions at the beginning of a project. At least for me, during the creative process, there's so many ups and downs, and the ups are really great, of course, and like when I'm beginning a new project, I'm just so energized and exciting, and I'm like, this is going to be great. I have all these great ideas, I can't wait to see them in the game, and I'm sure most people feel that way, but perhaps more interestingly is there are the downs, the valleys to the peaks, and these are especially difficult, at least for me. I think part of the problem is when you're developing a game, there's so many possibilities. You can do anything you want, and it's really great, but it's almost crushing because there's so many possibilities, and you have to figure out what you need to explore and what will make the best difference and what's not even worth bothering to try. And one of the things is that if you look at every decision you make, there's some things that seem so mundane, like run speed and size of the environment, but these types of things can have huge ramifications later in the project if you just sort of chose, he's going to move this fast, and then it's like, oh crap, I have to make that much content. I have to make the world this big or this interesting, or it can feel slow. So, I mean, there's just so many decisions, and I think the secret to this, to some extent, is to have a lot of self-confidence and not to second guess yourself and just to say, I think this is what is going to work, let's go with it, because you can spend forever exploring all these possibilities. But at least for me, I have a lot of self-doubt, especially after the failure of retrograde. And certainly when I say failure of retrograde, I mean financially has been very difficult, to say the least. But the thing about it is I feel like we put together a great game, and even after 4 years of development, it's still a game that I enjoy playing. But honestly, at this point, I can't bring myself to play it. It's just too painful. I just can't. I haven't figured out how to deal with the failure, at least in my mind and in my bank account's mind, if it were sentient, of the project. And it's made things more difficult on my current project, because when you're leading a project, I think self-confidence is important. You need to be able to say, this is what the game is, this is the right decision, and this is what you're going to do, and you need to tell your other employees that. And sometimes when I'm not feeling self-confident, which happens a lot, I give directions like, I don't know, do whatever you want, or make it like this, or whatever, I don't know, which is not helpful to anyone. So the one nice thing about development is, as you continue to flesh out the game and build more of it, the roller coaster sort of normalizes. You get a feel for the game. And interestingly, sometimes the game is not what you had originally set out to make, because when you're exploring this infinite space of possibilities, sometimes you find an avenue that is more interesting or better or what you'd rather work on. So it's definitely an exciting time, but it's definitely a difficult time just because, I have all these obsessive worries and thoughts and fears about, am I making the wrong decision? And it can be paralyzing, but certainly I'm trying really hard not to fall into those traps and make the best game I can.